We head out to the Lone Star State and catching up with our good friend Parker Rehm over there in Waco. Parker, I know it's been an interesting season as far as men's basketball is concerned, but they got a really nice win over Texas. This is a team now that is sitting atop the SEC standings. They're at 4-1, along with those Florida Gators. There's a kind of a logjam between those teams that are 3-2 and 2-3. But to get off to this start, 5 games into the season, and especially with that win over Texas, what did you make there of as Buckyball continues to find its footing in conference play?
This is about as well of a start, as good of a start as they could have asked for. And to be, like you mentioned, there's that logjam that always happens in the SEC where there's 6 teams fighting for those first 2 spots.
Right.
And I think that we're seeing it play out just as it has the past few years. We're seeing it play out this year. And I think to be 4-1, only those 2 teams at the top of the standings, you really can't ask for anything better. So a big win in Austin. It was the first time they've actually walked out of Austin since 2002 with a win. So a big, almost, they're always referred to as the little brother in that rivalry, and they got the bragging rights at least this time around.
And I think they avenged their football team there with a nice win there in Austin. Rashawn Agee has been a revelation for this team, 8th double-double of the season. What kind of impact does he have for this Buckyball squad?
Yeah, Texas head coach Sean Miller actually talked about him in the postgame, just saying how much of a difference maker he is, not only against them on Saturday night, but everybody to this point. And I think he's got a point. Agee's just been a force inside, and he might be undersized to a lot of outsiders looking in, but I think every coach in the SEC is not underestimating him in the post, and he's really been able to hold his own and really crashed the defensive glass, and I think that's what's boded well for the Aggies to this point. And he's been playing like a star, the star that Bucky thought he was when he brought him into the program.
For sure. Anytime that Texas A&M gets a win over Texas is obviously great for the rivalry. It's obviously so much. It's bigger, quote unquote, in football, but now, I guess a good way to really ingratiate yourself if you are Bucky McMillan is to beat Texas the first time you see them there on the floor. How special was that just from a program standpoint to get that nice win over a Texas team? I know they'll meet a little bit later on in the season there in College Station.
Yeah, I think I got my taste of how much, I guess, it meant to this program when I bolted into the locker room after the game, because Bucky said they weren't celebrating on the court, they were celebrating in the locker room. So I was like, in terms of a content perspective, you gotta get out in front of the action.
Right.
And that's what I did. It meant a lot to Jamie Vinson, who transferred from Texas. He had 2 posterizing dunks against his former team, and then it just meant a lot to this team. I think you could see it on all of into the locker room, in the tunnel. He was saying, it's a big win. That's a big win. And I think that's how a lot of Texas A&M this is a big win, not only because they beat the Longhorns, but they really dominated this game. It wasn't the 4-point margin that it ended with might not be indicative of how this game went. I mean, right. Texas A&M in the second half came out, thanks to Rylan Griffin, really turning on his motor in the second half. I mean, they came out and widened that gap to almost double digits in the first 4 minutes of the second half and just kind of maintained that. So to do it in the way that they did, I think that was the most impressive thing. It's just a matter of whether this Buckyball can continue into SEC conference play. But they've shown through the first 5 games that it looks pretty good. And I heard from a lot of the Texas media, too. They were like, I didn't know what to expect out of Buckyball, but it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to tell people.
A big one there for the Aggies. Got a win over their rivals. Bucky McMillan talked a little bit about that rivalry after the game, being able to get the win, and as you mentioned, being able to celebrate there in the locker room.
Look, I got a text. I know it's hard to win in here. Like, you can go back and look since 1987 of, it's hard to win in here. And I had a text, and someone told me how many times, A&M's only won in there X number of times. It's 1987, And I texted my buddy, I said, and I felt like, hey, we got a team that can do it, We got a team that can do it. And so I think we have a team that can do it because we do have a mature team that's a true team. Now, you can say, well, sounds like Coach speak. They're a true team. y'all have been in media like early in the season. I never said anything like that. They didn't know each other's names yet. But we have a team that's playing for each other and are fighting for each other. And that's good to see. And that's how you win games like this. Not because it's a rivalry game. I told them this game's no different than any other SEC game, right? I mean, Texas doesn't get 3 losses for that. We don't get 3 wins. So the most important thing we can do is just keep being the tight team that we are, to value getting the right shot for the right people and playing hard for the people next to you. Now, I will say this. I totally understand rivalry games. I totally understand fan bases. I love our fan base. Like, I love our fan base. And I want all the Aggies back in College Station, the best city in the state, to be celebrating really hard tonight.
College Station, the best city in the state. A little dig at Texas there.
You bet. When he said that, I was like, that is going in my post-game recap, and that'll probably end it. And it was a perfect ending to a perfect night in Aggie land, really.
That's a big one there. They come back at home. It's a really interesting game here against Mississippi State coming up next. And how do you feel that this coach and this coaching staff will have to be able to continue to keep this team grounded as they play a Mississippi State team that I know doesn't have the best overall record, 2-3 in the SEC, kind of there in that logjam, 10-8 overall? What do you think this team needs to do to be able to keep their foot on the gas pedal, so to speak, and not take it off with this Mississippi State team coming to town?
I think something that Bucky also mentioned in that post-game press conference after Texas was the ability to not change their game plan. Like, Bucky ball will not change depending on who they play. I mean, that's going to be the same type of press. They're not going to stop pressing just because it doesn't work and they get beat 1 or 2 possessions on it. I mean, that's kind of what they've prided themselves on all season long, is just staying with the game plan, staying with what Bucky ball is that high up-tempo offense, but those points in transition, about generating those steals by picking them up, full court. So I think that's something that if they just keep doing that and playing their game, this is a tough team to stop and game plan for, because a lot of these teams aren't as well conditioned, I think, as the Aggies to be able to do that for a full game. I mean, they might be able to do it and hang around for the first half, but as you saw against Texas, it really wore the Longhorns down.